If your soul feels tired, worn down, or quietly hurting, pause for a moment. You don't have to be strong here. Rest and let peace find you.
There are moments on the journey of life when we find ourselves facing circumstances that seem to defy our understanding and shake the very foundations of our faith. Unexpected situations arise like sudden storms, obscuring the horizon and causing us to question the purpose of our existence. In these moments of uncertainty and vulnerability, when doubt and discouragement threaten to take up residence in our hearts, it is essential to remember a comforting and unchanging truth: God still has a plan for you. This is not merely a consoling statement empty of substance, but a profound reality rooted in the very nature of the Creator and in His unconditional love for humanity. The understanding that there is a divine plan for each individual life transcends the superficial appearances of present circumstances. When we observe our journey through the limited lens of human experience, we are often unable to discern the larger patterns that are unfolding beyond our immediate perception. However, the divine perspective operates in dimensions that surpass our temporal and spatial understanding. What appears to us as a detour or an insurmountable obstacle may, in reality, represent a necessary redirection to lead us to destinations we could not even have imagined. The pages of history are filled with testimonies of individuals who, passing through valleys of adversity, discovered that their darkest periods preceded the most glorious sunrises of their lives. If you are reading these words right now and feel that your life has taken unexpected turns, if the dreams you cherished seem to have dissipated like mist in the morning sun, or if the doors you hoped to walk through have been closed before your eyes, consider the possibility that these experiences do not constitute the end of your story, but transitional chapters preparing you for greater revelations. The divine narrative for your existence has not been abandoned or canceled by adverse circumstances. It continues to be written with the ink of providence, even when you cannot see the words being formed. Before we continue, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave your comment, and like this content. Your participation strengthens our community and helps us reach more people with this message of hope. The nature of the divine plan is characterized by its complexity and depth, elements that often escape our immediate understanding. Unlike human projects, which are limited by our finite resources and restricted vision, God's plan embodies an infinite wisdom that considers not only the present moment but the entire span of our existence and beyond. This plan was not drawn up hastily or carelessly. It was carefully woven before our first breath, taking into account every talent we possess, every challenge we will face, and each opportunity we will have for growth and transformation. When we examine the sacred scriptures and the records of faith across the centuries, we discover a consistent pattern that illuminates this truth. Historical figures whose lives exemplify divine faithfulness often went through prolonged periods of apparent stagnation or setback before witnessing the unfolding of God's purposes. Joseph, sold as a slave by his own brothers and later unjustly imprisoned, could easily have concluded that his life had been irreparably ruined. However, each of those painful experiences was preparing him to assume a position of leadership that would save entire nations from famine. The prison that seemed to represent the end of his aspirations proved, in hindsight, to be the gateway through which he would reach his extraordinary destiny. Similarly, Moses spent 40 years in the desert tending flocks, an occupation humble and seemingly insignificant when compared to his privileged education in Pharaoh's palace. Those years of solitude and pastoral work, however, were not wasted time or abandoned purpose. During that period of apparent obscurity, Moses was being shaped, refined, and prepared to become the deliverer of an entire nation. The desert, which could have been interpreted as exile, was revealed as a school of preparation, where the character necessary for future leadership was being forged far from the public eye. These historical examples are not merely ancient narratives. but timeless accounts that illuminate eternal principles about how God operates in human life. The same patterns, preparation through adversity, redirection through closed doors, and purpose emerging from chaos, continue to manifest in contemporary lives. You may be experiencing your own time in the desert or your waiting season, but that does not mean you have been forgotten or abandoned by God. It means rather that invisible processes of preparation are underway, equipping you for the upcoming chapters of your story. Trust in the divine plan requires cultivating a perspective that transcends the immediate evidence of our senses. Our natural tendency is to judge situations based solely on what is visible, measurable, and understandable within our limited parameters. This approach, although natural, severely restricts our ability to perceive the deeper workings of providence. Genuine faith invites us to develop a spiritual vision that recognizes dimensions of reality beyond superficial appearances. It enables us to discern seeds of possibility in apparently barren soil and to detect signs of hope in the most challenging circumstances. Consider the metaphor of the tapestry, often used to illustrate this truth. When we look at a tapestry from its reverse side, we are faced with an apparently chaotic confusion of interwoven threads, uneven knots, and colors that seem to lack any coherent pattern. No immediate meaning emerges from this perspective. We see only disorder and disconcerting complexity. However, when the tapestry is turned and viewed from the correct side, a magnificent design is revealed, where each thread has a specific purpose and contributes to the beauty of the whole. Our earthly experience often resembles observing the reverse side of the tapestry. We see the tangled threads of our challenges, disappointments, and seasons of waiting without understanding how these elements contribute to the larger design. The divine perspective, however, contemplates the right side of the tapestry, where each experience, including those that cause us pain, is harmoniously integrated into the overall pattern of our purpose. This understanding does not minimize or invalidate the real suffering that people experience. Pain is pain, and its manifestations in human life are legitimate and significant. Recognizing that God has a plan does not mean denying the reality of the tears we shed or the sleepless nights we endure. What it does mean is that temporary discomfort can serve purposes of permanent transformation, and that seasons of difficulty often precede periods of abundant fruitfulness. Patience emerges as an indispensable virtue in this process of trusting the divine plan. Our contemporary culture conditions us to expect immediate gratification and instant results. Modern technologies amplify this expectation, providing almost instant access to information, entertainment, and communication. This habitual speed can make us impatient with the slower and more organic rhythms through which God's purposes often unfold. God does not operate according to human schedules, nor does he submit to our self-perceived urgencies. His methods involve processes of maturing that cannot be rushed without compromising the quality of the final result. Consider the analogy of pregnancy. A child requires approximately 9 months to develop properly in the mother's womb. This period cannot be significantly shortened without substantial risks to the baby's health and viability. Each week of this waiting time corresponds to specific and essential developments: the formation of vital organs, the growth of complex nervous systems, the strengthening of bone structures. Similarly, the purposes God is developing in your life require adequate periods of gestation, skills that must be cultivated, character that needs to be refined, connections that must be established, and circumstances that must align. To hurry this process would be counterproductive, resulting in premature purposes lacking the robustness needed to thrive. During these periods of waiting, when the divine plan has not yet fully manifested, we are invited to cultivate not only patience but also faithfulness in small things. A fundamental spiritual principle states that faithfulness in lesser responsibilities prepares us to manage greater opportunities. Many people aspire to accomplish extraordinary feats and reach positions of great influence, yet neglect the ordinary and seemingly insignificant tasks that make up their present reality. This neglect reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how God develops His purposes through individuals. Great ministries are born from small acts of obedience. Influential businesses often begin with modest ventures. Deep relationships develop through numerous small gestures of attention and care. If you long for God to accomplish great works through your life, start by being faithful in the opportunities you have right now, no matter how modest they may seem. Be excellent in your current job, even if it is not your dream career. Invest yourself in the relationships available to you, even if they are not as numerous as you would like. Use the talents you have, even if they seem limited compared to the abilities of others. This consistent faithfulness in small things does not go unnoticed by God and forms the foundation upon which greater responsibilities will eventually be built. Furthermore, it is crucial to understand that God's plan for your life does not exist in isolation, but is integrated into a larger collective purpose that encompasses families, communities, nations, and generations. You are not created solely for your own benefit or personal satisfaction, although these elements certainly form part of the equation. Your life has dimensions of meaning that extend beyond yourself, touching and influencing other lives in ways you may never fully recognize on this side of eternity. God's plan for you includes not only what you will receive and experience, but also what you will contribute and through whom you will become a blessing. This broader perspective frees us from the trap of excessively self-centered thinking that can distort our understanding of purpose. When we focus exclusively on our own desires, needs, and aspirations, we risk losing sight of the relational and communal dimensions of our existence. The extreme individualism that characterizes many contemporary cultures can blind us to the truth that we are members of a larger body, parts of a collective narrative in which each individual plays a specific role in the well-being and development of the whole. Your period of difficulty may be equipping you to minister effective compassion to others who will face similar challenges in the future. Your development in a particular area of competence may be preparing you to fill a critical need that will arise in your community. The rejection or redirection you experienced may also represent divine protection working in your favor. Our limited perspective often leads us to intensely desire certain things that, if obtained, would prove harmful or inadequate for us. Like small children who want to touch dangerous objects without understanding the risk, we sometimes fervently pursue paths, relationships, or opportunities that do not serve our greater good. A loving and wise Heavenly Father occasionally closes doors or allows disappointments, not as punishment, but as protection. That job opportunity that seemed perfect but that you did not get, that relationship you wanted but that did not flourish, that moved to a certain place you longed for but where circumstances did not align. Any of these situations may represent the protective hand of God diverting you from paths that, though attractive on the surface, would lead to problematic consequences. Years later, many people look back on past disappointments with deep gratitude, recognizing that what they experienced as loss at the time proved, in reality, to be preservation. The person who did not reciprocate your romantic feelings spared you from a dysfunctional relationship. The job you did not obtain freed you for a better opportunity that arose later. The house you couldn't buy saved you from financial troubles or complications that were not evident during the process. This understanding should not lead us to a fatalistic passivity in which we relinquish all personal initiative, but should cultivate in us a healthy humility that recognizes our perceptual limitations and trusts that a higher wisdom is at work even when we do not fully understand our present circumstances. The process of trusting the divine plan also involves cultivating intimacy with the planner. Plans are best understood in the context of a relationship with the one who designed them. When we deeply know someone's character, when we have repeatedly experienced their reliability, and when we invest time in fellowship with that person, it becomes more natural to trust their decisions even when we do not fully grasp their reasoning. Similarly, trust in God's plan flourishes most naturally in the soil of a cultivated relationship with Him. Prayer, meditation on Scripture, worship, and the practice of God's presence in daily life build this familiarity with God's character that undergirds genuine trust. Through these spiritual disciplines, we discover that God is not a distant, impersonal strategist moving human lives like pieces on a cosmic chessboard. He is a loving Father deeply invested in the well-being of His children, a Creator who delights in the flourishing of His creatures, a faithful friend who remains present in seasons of difficulty. This revelation of God's character transforms our experience of waiting for His plans to unfold. We are not merely waiting for external events to align, we are growing in relationship with the one who orchestrates these events. It is also important to recognize that God's plan for you includes room for your personal choices and initiatives. Divine sovereignty and human responsibility are not mutually exclusive concepts, but complementary realities that operate in mysterious harmony. God has not programmed every detail of your life in a robotic way such that you are merely an automaton executing predetermined instructions. Rather, He has granted you genuine decision-making capacity and expects you to exercise wisdom, discernment, and initiative as you navigate your journey. Your active participation is an integral part of how the divine plan is manifested. This dynamic can be illustrated through the metaphor of sea navigation. God has set a destination for you, a harbor toward which your life is directed. However, you are not merely a passive passenger being carried automatically. You have responsibilities in the navigation. You must adjust the sails, respond to weather conditions, make course corrections, and take decisions along the way. The divine captain provides direction, wisdom, and intervention when necessary, but he honors your agency as a co-participant in the process. Your choices matter, your prayers have impact, and your actions contribute significantly to the way the journey unfolds. When we face times of uncertainty about which direction to take, we can seek divine guidance through prayer, wise counsel from others, the study of Scripture, and attention to the inner movements of the Spirit in our conscience. God does not take pleasure in keeping us perpetually confused about His expectations. He desires to communicate with us and often does so through multiple channels that, when aligned, provide increasing clarity about the appropriate steps to take. The peace that surpasses understanding often accompanies decisions aligned with God's plan, while persistent unrest may signal the need to reconsider a particular course of action. As we mature in our spiritual journey, we develop a growing sensitivity to the rhythms and methods through which God operates. We learn to recognize His voice more clearly, to discern His movements more accurately, and to cooperate with His purposes more effectively. This maturity does not appear instantly, but develops gradually over years of walking with Him, through successes and failures, hits and misses, advances and setbacks. Each experience, when processed appropriately, contributes to the development of spiritual wisdom that equips us to navigate later seasons of life with greater competence. A frequently overlooked aspect of the divine plan is its dimension of redemption. God has an extraordinary ability to redeem past experiences, including those marked by failure, sin, and painful consequences. The mistakes we have made, the poor choices we have taken, and the rebellious periods we have gone through do not have the final power to nullify God's plan for our lives. As long as we are breathing, there are opportunities for new beginnings, restoration, and redirection. Divine grace works not only by forgiving transgressions, but also by integrating even our failures into the larger narrative of purpose and transformation. Countless testimonies throughout Christian history illustrate this powerful truth. Individuals who wasted years on destructive paths, who harmed themselves and others through foolish choices, and who seem to have irreparably ruined their lives have experienced transformative divine interventions that not only restored them but enabled them to minister with a peculiar authority precisely because of their past experiences. A former addict often ministers with exceptional effectiveness to others struggling with dependencies. A person who has overcome financial ruin can guide others facing economic challenges with wisdom born of experience. Someone who has survived trauma or abuse can offer deep empathy and practical guidance to others going through similar situations. This does not mean that God orchestrates negative situations merely to create future ministry opportunities. Real evil exists in the world due to human rebellion against the original divine design, and God is not the author of sin or suffering. However, He possesses the sovereign ability to transform even the most destructive circumstances into platforms for the manifestation of His redemption. This spiritual alchemy, where poison is turned into medicine and wounds become sources of healing for others, constitutes one of the most powerful demonstrations of God's character and power. If you carry shame or regret related to past failures, know that these do not constitute permanent disqualifications from your purpose. God is not looking for perfect people through whom to work. Such a search would be fruitless, for human perfection does not exist. He looks for willing people, humble enough to recognize their limitations and dependence on Him, and open to being transformed. Your scars do not repel Him. On the contrary, when offered to Him, they become instruments through which His grace can be displayed in particularly powerful ways. God's plan for you also includes elements of progressive growth and continual development. There is a common misunderstanding that suggests discovering the divine purpose is a single one-time experience after which everything becomes clear and permanently established. Reality is generally more dynamic and evolving. God reveals His plans progressively, one stage at a time, inviting us to walk in obedience to the aspects already shown while we trust Him for future revelations at the appropriate time. This gradual revelation serves multiple purposes. It keeps us in a state of continual dependence on Him. It prevents us from being overwhelmed with information about a distant future and allows us to focus on present responsibilities and opportunities. This dynamic can be compared to the experience of driving a car at night. The vehicle's headlights illuminate only a limited portion of the road ahead, enough to safely navigate the immediate stretch, but not revealing the entire journey at once. However, as the vehicle advances, more of the road is continually revealed. Similarly, God often provides enough light for the next step, not for the entire journey. This progressive illumination requires that we move forward in faith, trusting that more will be revealed as needed, step by step. Another important dimension of the divine plan relates to the development of character and spiritual virtue. God is interested not only in what you do, but in who you become. Externally, we may be obsessed with accomplishments, achievements, and measurable results. Divine priorities, however, often emphasize the internal transformation of character. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. These qualities of spiritual fruit represent primary divine goals for your life. The circumstances you go through, including challenges and difficulties, often serve as environments in which these virtues are cultivated and tested. Consider how different virtues are developed through specific experiences. Patience is forged in situations that require prolonged waiting. Faith is strengthened when we walk through uncertainties without visible guarantees. Compassion is deepened when we experience vulnerability and suffering that sensitize us to the pain of others. Humility is cultivated when we confront our limitations and dependence on others and on God. Forgiveness is practiced when we are hurt and choose to release resentment. Each life experience, seen from this perspective, becomes an opportunity for growth in specific dimensions of character. God's plan often challenges our preferences for comfort and security. Our natural inclination seeks paths of least resistance, predictable environments, and situations in which we feel competent and comfortable. Genuine growth, however, typically occurs at the edges of our comfort zone, where we are challenged, stretched, and occasionally taken beyond what we believe to be our limits. God may lead you into situations that initially provoke anxiety or insecurity precisely because they represent the frontier of your next level of development. Abraham was called to leave his homeland and travel to an unknown destination. Moses was sent back to Egypt to confront the most powerful regime of his time. Gideon, who described himself as the least in his family, was commissioned to lead an army against invaders. Mary, a young virgin, was chosen to carry the promised Messiah despite the social and relational complexities this implied. In each case, the divine call disrupted comfort and security, requiring steps of faith into unknown territory. Yet it was precisely through these challenging steps that extraordinary purposes were realized. If the plan you sense God revealing seems intimidating or beyond your current abilities, this may be confirmation of its divine authenticity rather than evidence of deception. God often calls us to tasks larger than ourselves precisely so that it may be clear that the results depend on Him and not merely on our natural abilities. This dynamic ensures that He receives the due glory and keeps us in a posture of humble dependence rather than proud self-sufficiency. Community plays a vital role in discerning and fulfilling God's plan for your life. Although your personal relationship with God is fundamental, you are not designed to walk in isolation. Other believers can offer perspective, encouragement, correction, and practical support that facilitate your journey. They may recognize gifts and potential in you that you do not clearly see yourself. They can offer confirmation when you are discerning direction. They can provide accountability that keeps you on course during times of temptation or discouragement. They may open doors of opportunity through their relational networks. Conversely, isolating yourself from a healthy spiritual community can make you vulnerable to deception, discouragement, and going off course. Without external perspectives, we can easily rationalize poor choices, miss opportunities for growth, and remain stuck in counterproductive patterns. Spiritual wisdom consistently emphasizes the value of multiple counselors and a robust spiritual community. Investing in authentic relationships within the body of Christ is not optional or merely supplementary. It is an essential component of successfully navigating your spiritual journey. Divine timing is another crucial aspect of God's plan that often tests our patience and trust. God operates according to a perfect schedule that does not always coincide with our preferences or expectations. What He promises, He will certainly fulfill, but the when remains a divine prerogative. Abraham waited decades for the promised son. Joseph waited years between his prophetic dreams and their fulfillment. David was anointed king, but remained a fugitive for a prolonged period before ascending the throne. In each case, the interval between promise and fulfillment served essential formative purposes. During these waiting periods, we are tempted to take shortcuts or force situations through our own efforts. Sarah tried to accelerate the promise of offspring through Hagar, creating long-lasting complications. Moses attempted to free his people by killing an Egyptian before he was ready for God's method. Saul offered sacrifice illegitimately instead of waiting for Samuel. These narratives warn us against the impatience that seeks to bypass God's process. What is obtained prematurely through our own effort often lacks the quality and sustainability of what comes in God's time through His ways. Learning to wait actively, remaining faithful and productive during seasons of waiting, rather than becoming passive and resigned, is an important spiritual skill. Active waiting involves continuing to invest in present responsibilities, keeping the heart expectant, refining the skills needed for future opportunities, and cultivating intimacy with God during the interval. This posture stands in sharp contrast to defeatist resignation that ceases all effort under the pretext of trusting God, or to frantic impatience that tries to force open closed doors through manipulation. God's plan also demonstrates flexibility in some aspects while remaining firm in others. There are non-negotiable principles and values that run through every expression of His purpose: holiness, love, justice, integrity, compassion. These essential elements do not vary based on circumstances or cultural preferences. However, the specifics of how you express your purpose may include legitimate variations. Two individuals may share essentially similar callings yet express them through different contexts, methods, and audiences. For example, several people may share the fundamental vocation of teaching. One may do so in a formal educational setting, another through digital media, another in business contexts, and yet another through informal relational mentoring. Each expression is valid and valuable. This diversity reflects both God's creativity and the uniqueness of each individual. You do not need to replicate someone else's path precisely. Rather, you are invited to discover the authentic expression of purpose that aligns your unique design with specific needs in your particular context. This understanding frees us from the trap of envious comparison that can cripple our progress. When we look at others' journeys and feel inadequate or frustrated because our path differs from theirs, we are essentially questioning God's wisdom in the way He shaped and guides us individually. His plan for you is personalized, taking into account your temperament, experiences, talents, passions, and context in ways that His plan for another person does not need to consider. Occasionally, God's plan involves significant redirections that may appear on the surface to be failures or detours. Paul originally planned to take the gospel to certain regions of Asia Minor, but was repeatedly prevented by the Spirit, eventually receiving a vision that directed him to Europe. This redirection resulted in the evangelization of Macedonia and beyond, profoundly impacting the trajectory of Christianity. What might initially have seemed like a frustrating obstacle turned out to be divine guidance toward a greater opportunity. When your preferences or plans are interrupted, consider that this may not represent a rejection of your overall purpose, but a refinement of your specific direction. Ask God what He may be communicating through the closing of this particular door. Remain open to possibilities you had not previously considered. Sometimes what we interpret as a no may really be a not now, or not this way, or not there but here. It is equally important to recognize that God's plan does not guarantee the absence of opposition or difficulty. Being at the center of God's will does not immunize us against challenges. It may, in fact, intensify spiritual resistance and opposition. Jesus, living in perfect obedience to the Father, faced constant opposition that culminated in crucifixion. The apostles, faithfully proclaiming the gospel, frequently encountered persecution. Paul, after his dramatic conversion, continued to experience imprisonment, shipwrecks, beatings, and countless other hardships. The presence of difficulty, therefore, should not automatically be interpreted as a sign that you are outside God's will. This mistaken understanding leads some people to prematurely abandon paths on which God truly placed them, simply because they encountered resistance. Opposition may, alternatively, confirm that you are precisely where you should be, disturbing systems and structures that need to be challenged. Discernment is necessary to distinguish obstacles that signal a need for course correction from resistance that simply accompanies faithful obedience in contested territory. During seasons of adversity, God's promises and His character become essential anchors that stabilize us. When outward circumstances are turbulent and our perceptions are clouded by difficulty, fundamental truths about who God is and what He has promised provide solid guidance. He has declared that He will never leave or forsake us. He has promised to work all things together for the good of those who love Him. He has assured that He will complete the work He began in us. He has guaranteed that those who wait on Him will renew their strength. These are not empty platitudes, but divine commitments backed by His unchanging character. Regularly memorizing and meditating on these promises strengthens spiritual resilience and enables us to persevere when continuing feels difficult. When doubts whisper that you have been forgotten, the Word declares that you are engraved on the palms of His hands. When circumstances suggest that your efforts are futile, Scripture affirms that your labor in the Lord is never in vain. When feelings imply that you are alone, the truth proclaims that He is with us every day. Anchoring ourselves in objective truth rather than subjective feelings enables us to navigate emotionally challenging seasons without shipwrecking our faith. God's plan includes not only the final destination, but also the journey itself. We tend to focus excessively on results, the career we will attain, the ministry we will build, the impact we will have. These aspirations are not inappropriate, but they can obscure an important truth: God deeply values who we become along the way. The journey itself, with its lessons, transformations, and experiences, constitutes a significant part of His plan. The relationships nurtured, the virtues developed, the lessons learned, and the deepened intimacy with God during the process possess intrinsic value that transcends any external results. This perspective frees us from the tyranny of outcome-only thinking that can make us impatient with processes and insensitive to present opportunities. When we are obsessed only with getting to the destination, we may miss the treasures available along the way, the meaningful conversation with the person beside you, the lesson available in the current difficulty, the beauty of the present moment, the development of patience through present delays, the practice of gratitude amid imperfect circumstances. These elements make up the real substance of life and are integral components of God's purpose. Finally, it is essential to understand that God's plan for you extends beyond this earthly life into eternity. Temporal perspective often dominates our thinking, but the reality is that existence does not end with physical death. The decisions, investments, and development that occur during our earthly decades have implications that resonate in eternity. This understanding properly contextualizes both our successes and our failures in this life. No earthly achievement is as significant as we imagine, and no earthly failure is as devastating as we fear when seen in the light of eternity. This eternal perspective does not minimize the importance of present responsibilities and opportunities. On the contrary, it places them in their proper context. What we do in time affects our experience in eternity. Investments in relationships, in the kingdom of God, in character development, in making a difference in the lives of others produce dividends that transcend our temporal existence. Conversely, obsession with accumulating temporary wealth, with personal comfort, with reputation, and with earthly power will prove to be investment in commodities that do not transfer beyond death. Living with awareness of this eternal dimension significantly influences how we navigate present decisions. Asking, how will this choice appear from the perspective of eternity? Or what meaning will this situation have 1,000 years from now? Can bring remarkable clarity when we face complex dilemmas and decisions. Priorities are naturally readjusted when we remember that we are pilgrims on a journey to our eternal homeland, rather than permanent residents focused exclusively on earthly comfort. God still has a plan for you. This truth remains constant regardless of where you have been, what you have done, how old you are, or how impossible your situation may seem. As long as you breathe, divine purpose remains active and accessible. You may have strayed temporarily, but the path back is always available. You may have experienced failures, but redemption and new beginnings are possible. You may feel unqualified, but divine empowerment overcomes human inadequacy. You may be confused about the specifics, but guidance can be sought and found. This plan is not an abstract concept detached from daily reality. It is manifested through concrete opportunities to do good, to express love, to develop character, to use your gifts, and to contribute to purposes greater than yourself. It is revealed progressively as you walk in obedience to what has already been shown. It is refined through both positive and negative experiences. It is fulfilled not through perfection, but through perseverance, not through never falling, but through rising again and again, not through never doubting, but through continuing to trust despite doubts. I invite you to embrace this truth deeply today. Allow it to penetrate the layers of discouragement, disillusionment, or despair that may have accumulated. God has not given up on you. He does not regret having created you. He is not waiting for you to reach some level of perfection before He can use you. He is inviting you, precisely where you are right now, to enter into collaboration with Him in the fulfillment of purposes that will bring meaning to your life, blessing to others, and glory to His name. The next chapters of your story have not yet been written. The ending is not yet determined. Possibilities still await. God, the master author, is still composing your narrative, and He specializes in transforming apparent tragedies into unexpected triumphs, in bringing beauty out of ashes, in leading people from places of defeat to platforms of influence. His plan for you remains vibrant, relevant, and powerful. The question is not whether it exists, but whether you will choose to embrace it, cooperate with it, and allow it to be manifested through your yielded, available life. May you awaken each day with a renewed awareness that your life has deep meaning and divine purpose. May you navigate challenges with the confidence that they serve higher purposes beyond your immediate understanding. May you persevere through seasons of waiting, knowing that gestation precedes birth. May you remain faithful in small things, preparing yourself for greater responsibilities. May you cultivate intimacy with God that undergirds trust in times of ambiguity. And may you complete your earthly journey with the satisfaction of knowing that you cooperated with heavenly purposes, blessed your world, and honored the one who created you with intention and loves you unconditionally. God still has a plan for you, and it is glorious.